Los Angeles Rams at the Seattle Seahawks. Another division matchup here. Rams in their rebuild, and the Seahawks coming off a playoff appearance where they're, some people are hyping them up as NFC West competitors. The Seahawks are favored by 5.5 here.
They're getting a lot of hype recently.
They are. I mean, in that division, it should be the Seahawks and the Niners.
Yeah.
Fascinating to see what the Rams look like because no team has more unprovens than them. To go with Aaron Donald, despite like defensive side of the ball, it's all youth. A couple veterans sprinkled in there. And then offensively, Matthew Stafford. Again, on paper, you can make the case that the offensive line isn't as bad because everybody's healthy, but it's still certainly not as good as they were in 21.
No.
And other times during the Sean McVay era. So the offensive line is going to be a question. And now Cooper Kupp, we hinted at this earlier, dealing with the hamstring injury. Hamstrings are so obnoxious because as soon as you feel like you're good, it goes again. Cooper Kupp had multiple setbacks. This is going back months now.
Yeah,
for the hamstring, so that's a massive concern for them.
As I said, he is visiting specialists, which does not sound like that's not a typical hamstring pull. Like, you don't need to see a specialist. Like, that's like, there's a few different things that can happen with a hamstring that are more complicated than a simple sprain. But when you're visiting specialists in a different city, that sounds like that's what you're dealing with, at which point day-to-day is ridiculous. Like, he's not showing up for quite some time.
Did he go back to the old Rams guy who's with the Vikings? Is that why he went to Minnesota?
Possibly, yeah.
It's not good, though.
No.
I was never fast enough to pull a hamstring, but just, doesn't seem good.
I've pulled hamstrings, and they're not fun.
From a Rams perspective, how are they going to create offense? I think you are looking at Tutu Atwell being used. He's gone behind the defense a few times early in his career here. You use him as a deep threat, and rookie Puka Nacua, get to see what the camp hype was all about him. If he's going to steal a bunch of those targets, going to see a lot of Tyler Higbee at tight end. Matchup-wise, I do want to see the Rams' offensive line. They'll be tested versus the Seahawks' defensive line, right? The Seahawks, I don't want to say their biggest weakness, but one of their biggest weaknesses over the last couple of years, pass rush, just consistent pass rush in Seattle. And they're just, getting incrementally better. As far as adding players, they should be able to have some success against the Rams from a pass rush perspective.
Yeah, but I think the same thing is true on the other side, if just for Aaron Donald. I mean, I think one of those reactions coming out of this game is going to be, reports of Aaron Donald's demise were greatly exaggerated. Donald always crushes the Seahawks.
But we know that, if he doesn't have anyone else with him, and the edge rushers right now, Michael Hoyt, rookie Byron Young, rookie Nick Hampton, Zach Van Valkenburg.
What a name.
Those are the guys. The other Jonah Williams on the interior, Bobby Brown III, Ernest Brown IV.
You don't want to be the other Jonah Williams.
Kobe Turner. I love Kobe Turner. He'll be fine. But Aaron Donald, he could have 7 of those quick wins that we give him that don't lead to pressure. 7 more pressures. No sacks. It's not going to have an impact on the game if no one else is doing anything.
Right. It might not have an impact in the game, but I think we will come out of this game being like, oh, we were too quick to write off Aaron Donald. By we, I mean other people. Donald averages 8 pressures a game against Seattle.
Yeah. Do you think Tremaine Ankrum Jr., the right guard for the Rams, do you think he was one of the people that made Aaron Donald, when he voted him in, put him in the 20s?
Right. Yeah. Guy's lost a step.
Every guard should put him in at 1. Respect immediately.
Just for the fear of what could happen if they don't.
That side of the ball, I want to say, Seattle needs to rush the passer better. They should have an opportunity here. Joe Noteboom, we get to see him tested again at left tackle coming off of his injury. It's just 3 or 4 unproven offensive linemen for the Rams, and then whole unproven defense. And then Seattle, Jackson Smith and Jigba should be a go, right, with the hand injury. Get to see how he interacts with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. I'm expecting some success through the air for Seattle in this game.
I think they will. That passing offense should be fun. It's going to be fascinating to focus on, Geno Smith and what he can do this year. We talked about that a lot in the preview show. Even the Seahawks weren't necessarily 100% sold that he could back up what he did. But, that's going to be interesting to watch. If nothing else, he's the right type of question mark. He's a guy that will make a lot of big plays, and maybe there'll be a lot of some rough plays in there as well. But
That's okay. Yeah.
It's always been more interesting just in itself. Like the Jameis Winstons of the world have always been more interesting quarterbacks than guys that are just giving you beige for the entire, those classic game managers that do nothing. But now it's also more important because, like, if you're not going to have a superstar, you might as well at least try and get a guy that can be a superstar in a given game, even if it's not going to last more than a set period of time.
And I think just as important is the fact that you have guys to throw to. So you want somebody that's going to be giving them opportunities to make plays.
Ryan Fitzpatrick, that's like dynamic, right?
Geno Smith, I don't want to overstate it, right? He had some of those elite games. He didn't have them down the stretch. His second half grade, Geno Smith, was not that great. Mm-hmm. But in those games where even if the grade wasn't great, he bounced back from mistakes. He didn't have any pure just duds where he looked incompetent. He'd make some mistakes. He'd bounce back. He kept Seattle competitive. They made the playoffs. I expect more of the same. Want to see the youth on defense again take that step forward. Tariq Woolen, right? I want to see them try a deep shot. The Rams, Tutu Atwell against Tariq Woolen. Those are always fun. Little Tutu against huge, monstrous Tariq Woolen. Those don't tend to go very well, but might see a couple of those in this game. So I'm expecting Seattle to cover the 5.5 here at home.
Yeah, I'm lower on Seattle than a lot of people heading into the season, but I'm not expecting much from the Rams at all. So